The president of FIFA just told a Swiss interviewer that the FIFA World Cup could grow to 64 teams. Gianni Infantino, the single most powerful man in the sport, the one who runs the whole thing, said on July 12, 2026, just 7 days before the 2026 World Cup final on July 19th, that the idea will be examined and discussed in the relevant committees after this World Cup. That would be the biggest World Cup in history, 64 nations, 128 matches, double the tournament you grew up watching. And here's the catch that turns this from a press release into a story. 3 of the 6 men who run World Soccer's regions have already called it a bad idea, chaos, and not the right move. FIFA, in other words, is fighting itself. Let me put what's actually on the table right in front of you. The 2026 World Cup, the one being played across the United States, Canada, and Mexico right now, already expanded to 48 teams, up from the 32 that had been standard since 1998. That jump alone pushed it to 104 matches across 39 days. This new plan goes further, 64 teams, 128 matches. Per ESPN, that is double the number of games played under the old 32-team format. Think about that. A World Cup twice the size of everyone from the 1998 tournament in France to the 2022 Qatar World Cup. So where does a plan this big even come from? Not a FIFA committee, not a strategy document. According to reporting from ESPN and the New York Times, it surfaced on March 5, 2025, during an online FIFA Council meeting, slipped in near the very end, under the agenda item literally labeled miscellaneous. The man who raised it was Ignacio Alonso, president of the Uruguayan Football Federation. The New York Times reported the room met it with stunned silence. Even Infantino's biggest rival would later admit he had no idea it was coming. But to understand why Uruguay of all places floated this, you have to see the piece almost nobody mentions. Here's where it turns. The 2030 World Cup is a centenary, 100 years since the very first World Cup, which Uruguay hosted and won in 1930, beating Argentina 4-2 in Montevideo. To honor that, FIFA handed South America the opening matches of 2030, while the main tournament runs across Morocco, Portugal, and Spain, 3 separate nations, 3 separate football associations, the centerpiece of the centennial celebration. Sounds like a gift. But under FIFA's own rotation rules, a continent that hosts can't host the main event again for 2 more editions, which means by taking those few ceremonial 2030 matches, South America is locked out of hosting a full World Cup until at least 2042 per Yahoo Sports. Now the 64-team plan looks different, doesn't it? Blow the field out to 64, and Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay could each host an entire group of 4 in 2030. Not one opening day match, but real tournament football. And Brazil, the 5-time World Cup winners and CONMEBOL's biggest football power, has remained notably quiet on the expansion, which tells its own story. Suddenly, the celebration talk sounds like the surface. Underneath it sits a continent that otherwise waits 12 more years for another shot. And the stakes are enormous because the World Cup is FIFA's crown jewel and its cash machine. FIFA projected around $9 billion in revenue from the 2026 edition alone. Per Forbes, more than the entire previous 4-year cycle brought in. One independent analyst pegged the 2026 total even higher, near $11 billion. The prize pot jumped to $871 million, up from $440 million in Qatar. More teams mean more matches, more broadcast windows, more tickets, and 2026 is already breaking records, with a single-day crowd of 281,223 across 4 games in June, and total attendance passing 6.5 million before the tournament even reached its final, which FIFA says beats the 2018 and 2022 World Cups combined. Infantino called the 48-team format 100% a success. When the last expansion prints numbers like that, the man in charge has every reason to keep going. But this is where the pushback grows loud, and it's coming from inside the building. Alexander Ceferin runs UEFA, European soccer's governing body, the man who oversees the Champions League and most of the world's richest clubs. At a UEFA Congress in Belgrade in April 2025, Ceferin said the plan surprised him more than anyone, and then he called it, flatly, a bad idea. He went further. Bad for the World Cup itself, and bad for the qualifiers, the long regional campaigns teams grind through just to reach the tournament. And then this. I don't know where it came from. He's not alone. Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa, who runs Asian soccer, warned that if you crack the door open now, someone will demand 132 teams next. It would become chaos, he said. Victor Montagliani, head of CONCACAF, the confederation that covers the United States, told ESPN it's simply not the right move. Count them: Europe, Asia, and CONCACAF. 3 of the 6 regional presidents, all opposed, all on the record. And here's the awkward part. Those 3 men aren't outsiders throwing rocks. They're FIFA vice presidents. They sit on the very FIFA council that would have to approve this thing. FIFA's own leadership is split 3-1 against its own president's favorite idea. There's a second problem money can't wave away: the players and the calendar. Even at 48 teams, the 2 finalists in 2026 will play 8 matches to lift the trophy, the most in World Cup history. Go to 64 and you stack another round on top of a schedule critics already call unsustainable. FIFPro, the Global Players Union, found in a recent report that after big summer tournaments, only a small fraction of players receive the off-season rest doctors recommend. Then there's the quality worry longtime fans keep raising. 64 teams is nearly a third of every FIFA member nation on Earth. Imagine the NFL suddenly letting a third more teams into the playoffs. More games to sell, sure, but more mismatches too. Critics say the group stage fills with blowouts, and qualifying, the drama of watching your nation claw its way in, starts to lose its meaning. Infantino's answer is that the gap is closing. His pitch is simple. The World Cup should be for the whole world, not just Europe and South America, and every nation deserves to dream of playing in it. If you don't give smaller countries a chance, he said, they'll lack the incentive to keep improving. And there's something to it. 2026 has already served up debut nations and deep runs from teams that never used to make it this far. Whether that reads as romance or dilution depends entirely on which seat you're sitting in. And you can't read any of this straight without the calendar on the wall. Infantino took over from Sepp Blatter in 2016, inheriting a FIFA that had just been rocked by its own corruption crisis. Now he faces re-election as FIFA president in 2027, and to win, he needs a majority of FIFA's 211 member nations. Expanding the World Cup hands a golden ticket to dozens of smaller federations who suddenly have a realistic shot at qualifying. So ask yourself, who benefits when the boss offers more countries a seat at the table right before those same countries vote on whether he keeps his job? I'm not saying that's the reason, but it's a question worth holding on to. So here's where it actually stands tonight. Nothing has been decided. There has been no FIFA Council vote. The 48-team format is still the official confirmed plan for 2030. The 64-team version is a proposal, a signal of intent, floated by the most powerful man in the sport at the exact moment his tournament is smashing records. FIFA says the real conversations happen in committee once the 2026 World Cup wraps, and that final is July 19th. After that, this moves out of interviews and into the rooms where decisions get made. A continent locked out until 2042. A president up for re-election in 2027, and 3 of the 6 men who'd have to say yes already saying no. Watch what FIFA does the week after this World Cup ends, because that's when we find out whether the whole world was a principle or a pitch.